Hello, and welcome to the 21st episode in our Pharmacy Calculations practice series. Now, this question was submitted to us via our Facebook study group, and it's a rather long one, so stick with me here. But it states that the question is going to refer to the following infusion therapy order. So you're going to need 50 milligrams of cytarabine, 100 milligram per ml, 12 milligrams of methotrexate, 25 milligram per ml, and 25 milligrams of hydrocortisone, 50 milligram per ml. And this is intended to be admixed into a 6 milliliter solution for infusion. Now, to prepare this correctly, 16.7% more of each dose is needed to compound a 7 milliliter syringe. What is the number of extra milligrams needed to prepare a 7 milliliter syringe and the total volume of each drug that will need to be drawn up? Okay, so this is an interesting question, but essentially what they're telling you is you need to make a little extra of this compound in order to have some overfill in this syringe, and we need to figure out the total milligrams of each ingredient, or how many extra milligrams of each ingredient according to this order, and then the total volume of each ingredient that we're going to need. So we'll take these one by one, and we'll start with cytarabine. And excuse my handwriting here. But they're calling for a 50 milligram dose. And we know that for each one of these, we're going to need 16.7% more. Now, the fastest way to do this, and it's important to remember when you're dealing with percentages, as a fraction, that's always going to be divided by 100. So 16.7% is also going to be 0.167 as a fraction. So one quick trick that I have to increase a number by a given percentage is to multiply it by 1 with the percentage as a decimal. So we'll multiply this by 1.167. This is just a shortcut that I like to use to figure out if we were to take cytarabine and we need 50 milligrams, to increase that by 16.7%, we'll multiply it by 1.167. Meaning we're going to need, it's 58.35. For simplicity, I'm just going to round these to whole numbers. So we're going to need 58 milligrams of cytarabine. Now, to figure out the volume that we're going to need, we have a known concentration of cytarabine, which is 100 milligrams per milliliter. We need 58 milligrams. So here's where we're going to set up our proportion, like we always do with our unknown in the numerator on the right side, and we're solving for volume. So how many milliliters are we going to need for 58 milligrams of cytarabine when our known ratio is 100 milligrams per ml, but we have to keep those units consistent on the left. So 1 milliliter has 100 milligrams. And then to solve this, we take that left side of the equation and solve for it. So 1 milliliter divided by 100 milligrams, and then we cross multiply by that 58 milligrams. When you do that, your milligrams cancel out, and we'll be left with the volume of cytarabine. So 1 divided by 100 times 58, that's going to be 0.58 milliliters of cytarabine. So that's the total volume, and we had already solved that we needed 58 milligrams. Now technically, if they're asking us how much extra milligrams needed, we just subtract what they gave us initially, 50 milligrams. So we needed 8 extra milligrams. Now we can simply do the same thing for the remaining ingredients. So for methotrexate, which I'll abbreviate as MTX, they're asking us for 12 milligrams, so we can multiply that by 1.167 to increase that by 16.7%. So 12 times 1.167 is going to be 14 milligrams. So that's going to be 2 more milligrams than what they provided us in the order to account for that overflow. And to figure out the volume, that we're going to need for 14 milligrams, we do the same thing we did up there for cytarabine. So how many ml do we need for 14 milligrams when our known concentration of methotrexate is 25 milligrams per ml? So for 1 ml, we have 25 milligrams. And then we solve that left side, 1 divided by 25 times 14. So here we're going to need 0.56 milliliters of methotrexate. And then lastly, for hydrocortisone, I don't feel like writing out hydrocortisone, so we'll just start down here. 25 milligrams times 1.167 is going to be 29 milligrams. So that means we need 4 more milligrams than was ordered for hydrocortisone. And then to figure out the volume, again, we set up our proportion. So how many milliliters are we going to need to get 29 milligrams when our known concentration of hydrocortisone is 50 milligrams per milliliter? So we'll go ahead and solve this. 1 divided by 50 times 29 equals 0.58 milliliters of hydrocortisone. So we have all of our answers here that they asked for. The only thing that I would add is you're obviously going to need to add some sterile water to get to a 7 milliliter dose, or perhaps in this instance it'll be normal saline, but whatever your actual solution that you're going to use to dilute these products, depending on the compounding instructions that you're given, we could just solve for that really quick. So we would take our total solution needed, we'll subtract the 0.58 milliliter volume for the cytarabine, the 0.56 milliliter volume for the methotrexate, and the 0.58 ml volume for the hydrocortisone. And we would figure out that we need an additional 5.28 milliliters of whatever the appropriate diluent is for this order. So I hope that was a good explanation. If you have any questions about this, or if you have another question you'd like to see solved, please contact us on our Facebook page or via email at info@pharmacytechscholar.com.